what's this week's Devil the Detail podcast? I'm Rob Parkinson, and I'm here talking all things. So for a Devil's joining the show this week, as ever, we've got Paul Parkin, fresh from our interview with Paul King. Hopefully all our listeners have listened to it. The podcast's been out a couple of days. Thoughts on that, Parky?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was. I think it was as honest as he always is. He put a few things in perspective, certain things that I didn't know, and certainly the financial aspects of the club and how much it costs to run a rugby league club these days. It shocked me a little bit. But yeah, honest, just shame we didn't get, obviously longer with him, but obviously he's a busy man, and we've all got lives and so on. He's, I think he'd been at the club all day, and then, he's got another day the day after. So, but I'm sure we'll line him up again. But brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, last week we had Trevor on, who was magic, and then we've done this special one with Paul this week, and yeah, I thought it was really good. He's like, you said it a couple of weeks ago. He's honest, brutally honest at times, but that's the way we need it. It needs straight talking at the moment. There's no point, sort of pussyfooting around the subjects that need doing. Otherwise, this stadium may never get moved on. And I think we're in pretty decent hands at the moment. I'm sure Paul would love an oil baron or some Middle Eastern sheikh to come in and give him a hand, but that's not the way it's going to go, is it? So he's going to make us self-sustainable, and that's all we can hope for. So yeah, great interview with him, really good, and hopefully we can catch him again soon.
Yeah, great interview. Make sure you tune into that if you haven't already. How's your week been? Anything exciting happening to you?
Not really. No, I've got a bit of a bug of some sort. Not a bug. I've got a bit of a cold. That's all. But other than that, no. I've watched nothing but rugby. Obviously, all the games being on Sky now. I've been catching up with all them, so I've watched them all. The only one I haven't watched all the way through is ours. Strange.
Right.
Still too fresh in the pain stakes. But I've watched some NRL, their friendly games. I watched the Indigenous All Stars against the Maori and all. It's just constant rugby league in my house at the moment. It's a good job I'm not having to go out and graft at the moment, isn't it? Because I haven't got time for it.
I say it's your full-time job watching rugby league, hour in, hour out at home. That's your new job for the podcast, because Parky predicts, which you'll hear in the next few minutes, which is exciting.
Yeah, I did quite well last week. I don't know if anyone actually listened, but I was quite happy with myself. Certainly the results I got right, I got pretty well right. Yeah, a couple wrong, but that's the start of the season, and as we'll probably discuss, I didn't really know what to expect and how many players were going to be on the pitch at any one time. So I think I did okay. So I'll have another crack this week, see how we do.
Yeah, last week, Parky at the game against Leeds nearly went missing, got lost in Leeds, coming out the ground. It was one of them where, obviously, getting to the ground, we talk about our car park being a nightmare. The car park was shut, so the stew just park somewhere. So you know what it's like. It was about 22:08, so a bit of a rush on, and you know what it's like. Loads of Leeds fans everywhere. So just dodging between, streets. Finally found a street. Felt like 10 minutes from the ground, jumped out my car, ditched my car, and obviously just ran, sort of jogged to the stadium. And I came out at the top, the cricket end of the ground, and I realised where I was. Then I thought, right, okay, so I know my car is somewhere in this area, so I had to walk all the way around Headingley to get in. Got in great. Watched the match with Paul. He says to me, "There's a ginnel, that runs the length of Headingley." And I was like, all right, so then I don't have to walk all the way around. So that was fantastic. Obviously watched the match, interviewed Paul Rowley after the game in the press conference. Coming out the press conference, I was thinking, right, what I'll do then is I'll go down basically towards the south stand, go out the gate at the bottom of the stadium, turn left into this ginnel, get up to the top of the ginnel, and we'll take it from there. Because I thought to myself, because somewhere in that area. So obviously I start setting off, right? Paul Rowley catches up with me. So you're just chewing the fat, really, for where it was, a couple of minutes as we were walking along. And then suddenly he says to me, "Where's the coach?" So I thought to myself I'm going through a Ginnell here. I'm going out the gate and walking through the Ginnell, up past Henley. And so there's no way I'm taking Paul Rowley at 11 o'clock at night up a Ginnell at Leeds, because there couldn't be anybody at that top of that Ginnell. So I just said to him, "Well, your bus is on the other side," and he got on his heels and he walked off. And then I was obviously kept walking, got to the Ginnell, then realised to myself that I was by myself walking up a Ginnell at Leeds, and I was like, "Oh, that wasn't the greatest idea." So I thought, well, I'll just start singing sofa songs while I run up this Ginnell, thinking that if there was anybody at the top of this Ginnell menacingly, hopefully the Salford stigma will kick in. And they'll run off, or they'll move, because they'll think, "What's this? Who's this lunatic running up here at 11 o'clock at night?" So I got to the top of the Ginnell, luckily unscathed, no one was there. So Paul Rowley get on the bus, and I turned left then, ready to walk down the road. And at that point, I thought, "Where's my car?" And I thought I knew it was a right turn. I thought it's first right, and it's there. So I started walking, kept walking. Felt like it was a while till I got to a crossroads, and I was like, can't remember being a crossroads. So across the road, kept walking again, got to Headingley train station, and I thought, there's definitely not a train station near where I parked the car. I missed my car. I'll turn round, walked back up to the crossroads. At this point, it's all getting a bit dark. It's all getting a bit, at 11:15 at night. People are cycling around with scooters, with hoodies up, looking a bit menacing. Thought to myself, I need to find my car here. People asking me, "Have you got any cigs?" and anything like that, because that's a sign in it when that happens. That trouble might be at mill when things like that happen. So I got back up, and if you call this walking, because I've got me Achilles, and that's sore after my wife's birthday party with a bit of dancing, dance floor, got a bit sore. So all this walking I'm doing, starting to feel the burnout in my Achilles. So I'm on like one leg, dragging my leg up this road, thinking, "Where's my car?" Panic starts setting in at that point, because I'm the only Soul fan probably in the Henley area at that point, at 11:15 at night. So I see the guy on the bike coming back. So I dip in behind this sort of house wall. He cycles past, and then I sort of jump and sort of set off across the road, thinking, "Where's my car?" Into the crossroads, turned right, and then luckily there was a side road that I didn't have a light on, which I would never have seen, unless I was right on top of it. But luckily my car was there, and I was like, "Oh, could have ended so differently." It has to be said. But survived, got in my car, and the motorway was shut, wasn't it? So I had to then do a bit of a detour trying to find the motorway junction that was open. Didn't get home till nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. I know. Wife went mad. She was blaming you, saying that me and you had gone for a drink after the game. I was like, honestly, I'm running around Leeds trying to find my car, and then the motorway was closed as well. Didn't believe a word. But yeah, could have been. It was dodgy, but we survived.
I mean, I know Headingley's a myriad of streets, and they do all look the same, strangely. We had a bit of fun with the coach trying to get round it. But yeah, it is that. I know the alleyway you're talking about there. It goes right down the back of the Western Terrace. Yeah. Takes you the full length of the ground, past the cricket ground. We had to go up and down it, and you know what my lamps are like. I can't see anything anyway. It's not a good place to be. So I can imagine when you're on your own going around there. But you got out, and hopefully you don't have to visit there again this year. Once you get the first round of the cup or something. But it's it's a strange one, Headingley. It looks fantastic as a stadium when you see it on the telly and so on. I stood at the back of that Western Terrace on Friday night, and it was so dark. It was actually quite off-putting at times. There's no light at that end. Obviously, all the floodlights face the pitch, which they should do, but they don't reach that part. So you just stood in the dark on an open terrace. You can't make out anything. So for all its loveliness, it's not a great place to be at night. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. My life was flashing before my eyes. I thought, I'm going to get lost here. There's going to be like a legend of a fan just wandering the streets forever, never finding his way home. And I thought that was me. I thought that was going to be me on Friday night. So, lots to go on. We'll talk about Leeds. We've got Parky predicts. We've got Whiteside's World Rugby League. And then we've got the preview of the big games coming up this weekend. So we'll start with Leeds. So for the Devils, we're defeated 22 points to 16 at Headingley on a Friday night. Parky stayed in the game. Good performance, all things considered. Ill discipline. Paul Rowley in his press conference kind of talked about how they're getting used to the rules and all that. But we're absorbing too much for me. And I don't think you can continue to do that long term. So it's something I think that they'll have to be looking at. I think we tested Leeds. I think people who went to Headingley didn't expect that kind of game. They expected Leeds to come out and blitz us, but Leeds didn't show too much for me. Wasn't concerned throughout. They only scored when we were down to 12 men, which we'll talk about sort of in a couple of minutes. But Paul Riley will be happy that we put in a pretty decent performance under the circumstances.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic performance, way above what I thought we would put out there. You look at the two teams on paper, you look at the money that Leeds have spent on that team this year, and the hopes and everything that they had, the anticipation, and their fans knew they got away with one. That first half, we were brilliant. They didn't know how to handle us, I don't think. Every time we got near their line, Leeds seemed to panic. They didn't know where we were going, what we were going to do. I thought Sneed and Cust were mixing like they played together for 12 months. I thought they were excellent together, causing all sorts of problems. And with a bit of luck and maybe Dion Cross being another couple of inches, his arms being longer, I think we win that game. I really do. And a bit of luck gone our way, we'd have took that game. I thought for a long part of it, we were just a better team. I think we looked better. I think we looked more skillful, more structured. Leeds did look like a team that they'll probably get better as the season goes on, but they looked like a team that hadn't played together, didn't really know each other. There was no fluency to the play. It seemed to be just make it up as you go along. Quite a lot of what Leeds did. I mean, we know what Brodie Croft's capable of. If he takes a line on, he's devastating. He's got that step and jink, or he can put you through a gap. There was none of that from them. Their tries were, I mean, one was an individual, 80-meter run or whatever. But other than that, there was nothing special coming out of them. And I just thought we looked the better team. And I said straight after the game, I think people watching that, even, neutral fans would have been shocked by quite how good we were, because we're expected to be some of the whipping boys. Let's be honest. We know that. Everyone expects us to finish near the bottom. We shown the kind of form and performance that gets you a top six game, because we did stay in the game. We did a lot of defending, certainly in that second half. I think we got near their line maybe 2 or 3 times in the whole of the second half. If we could have got, the green and maybe a little bit more possession in their half territory-wise, I think we'd have posted more scores and won that game and could have won it. I'm not saying comfortably, but by a few points. So overall, I was absolutely delighted. I came away from that game feeling slightly more like a victory than defeat. And I know it isn't, it doesn't get you anything on the board, but I thought it was a great performance.
Yep. Quickly run through the timeline. Sneed kicked the penalty to make it 2-0. They kicked a penalty to make it 2-2. Ryan Briley was put in a bin for a high tackle. For me, he was done by Brodie's footwork there. So high tackle means you put in the bin. Thoughts on that?
By the new rules, it is. I don't agree. I had my binoculars with me the other night, strangely enough. And I saw the incident, and I mean, this time last year, I don't even know if it's a penalty, to be honest with you. Never mind a sin binning, but they're the rules that we've got, like you said, we've got to get used to. That's what we're going to be facing every week. So, but then if he doesn't make that challenge, what happens then? So swings and roundabouts. But it's costly when you lose your full back like that, especially Ryan with what he brings to the team and his influence just as being a player, being there. So it's slightly harsh, but it's what you're going to get, and it's what you've got to expect. And I thought even from that point, I thought we defended generally quite well with them 12 men. But as you point out as we go on, not quite good enough.
Salford scored the first try. Kate Cuss, little kick through by Mark Sneed. Cuss won the foot race, dived over. Salford led 8-2. Leeds hit back though. Try from Ash Handler, 80-metre effort. Pace to burn on the outside. Obviously, Salford were down to 12 men, but Leeds found a way. And Ash Handler, he's got pace and he knows where the line is. And we were cut wide open there.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that we do kind of lack at the moment is pace. I think we've got a really good set of backs, and obviously we've got the likes of Ethan Ryan to come on, and David Nofaluma coming in now is going to make a huge difference to that. We played with Chris Hankinson on one wing and Dion Cross on the other, who've both been centres in recent years. So and with Ryan Breen off, I think if Ryan Brierly's on, he certainly gets to him. Whether he stops the try, I don't know, but he definitely gets towards that to Ash Handler. But it's good play, but it's also a bit of luck. It's just one of them tries that you go, well, if he's broke the line, the chances of you catching him are pretty remote because he is rapid. And just going off that, I did say last week when we had Trevor on that get your money on Ash Handley scoring because he always scores against us, and so it proved. But yeah, he was one of them tries. I think with 13 men, you're defending in the line, you don't have your full back. I think you stop that. But fair play to Ash Handley. It was a great try from a really good finisher.
Yeah. So just before half time, pressure from Salford. Leeds dam burst. Oliver Partington placed himself over the line for the score. Salford went into half time leading 14-8. Paul Raleigh would have been chuffed with that. Us fans were.
Yeah, I thought I'm going to say with Ollie Partington, I thought our back rowers were brilliant the other night. Before we mentioned anything else, I thought they worked tirelessly against a big Leeds pack. Let's not make any bones about it. They're some monsters in their pack. We didn't have quite the size, but the work rate. I think Paul King mentioned on the pop-up podcast that Shane Wright, 29 out of 29 tackles, 100% hit rate. That's incredible, and that just shows the work rate that the lads put in, and the way they defended was superb at times. And then Ollie Partington getting a try. I believe it was his first for the club. I wasn't aware of that. That shocked me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, he's a good player, Ollie, isn't he? But he took some. They weren't going to stop him from there. 2 or 3 men trying to hold him up, but he took them with him. And at half time, we're buzzing. The people, the fans around me, the smiles, we're all shaking hands, and can we keep it up? And and I said at half time, I said, well, whether we do or we don't, we've proved already we've got something. We're not just going to be whipping boys. We're there's a team there, and Paul Rowley promised there'd be fight and commitment, and that the heart wouldn't be lacking. And in that first 40 minutes, I'd seen it, and I was happy.
Yeah. So second half started. Leeds came out. Try from Hanley, kick to the corner. He got his second of the evening. Then all the controversy. Malonsky, I'm going to call him, got sin-binned. High tackle on Chris Atkin. For me, Chris Atkins lost the ball. So the play's dead. So I don't understand how he could be put in the bin. Thoughts on that?
Does he make contact with his head?
Yes.
It makes no difference when you do it. You can't do it. They're the rules. I don't agree. I don't think it's a sin, but I think if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. That's about it for me. It's just everything was blown out of all proportion this weekend in the whole league, right across every game. Again, I think this time last year, it is just a penalty. Simple as that. He's definitely he hit him. He didn't have the ball in his hand. You can't do that, no matter what state of the game is, someone stood there while you wait for a scrum to be formed and someone runs up and hits somebody. You don't do, you can't do it. So it's the same thing for me. But yeah, I think it's a strange one. I said to you before when we were off air on a call that for me in the whole 80 minutes there wasn't one bad tackle in the whole game, and yet we ended up with players in the sin bin everywhere and penalties for all sorts of nonsense really. So it could have spoiled the game. It didn't because it was still a decent game. But I'm so once it had been picked up and gone to the video ref, he was going in the bin. Simple as that. They're the rules.
So 14 apiece. Max D kicks a goal, puts Salford in front. Amir Burra gets put in the bin for holding down. Crucial moment for me because obviously we're starting to gas at that point. Leeds are building up momentum. Not what you want when you're hanging on. Big decisions cost games sometimes, and I think that was one.
Yeah, well, I've seen it, and I'm not convinced. It's definitely not a sin binning. I know what he's saying is persistent. Well, it wasn't persistent because the two penalties he'd given before that weren't for holding down. So it was a different penalty anyway. But the referee he piggybacked him down the pitch, I think, with two penalties. I know it sounds biased, but that we didn't get them. Leeds did the same things, and that's where the consistency's got to be right. I'm not saying they're not penalties. I'm saying they've got to be consistent. So what's good, for Leeds should be for us. Amir Burra is very unfortunate. I don't know how he gets sin-binned, and I've read a few journalists on Twitter, X or whatever it's called these days, who also said, well, I don't really know what he was supposed to do, how he was supposed to clear the ruck at that point. He couldn't. He was kind of held into it. But yeah, it happened, and then they go on and scored. It's not right. Like I said, the big decision, the key decision, they don't seem to go our way or the way of a lot of the so-called smaller clubs. I don't think. It'd been interesting to see what would have happened if it had been at our end, whether the Leeds player would have gone in the bin. I tend to doubt it.
It's all for the birds now, Parky. Unfortunately, like Parky said, we're down a man. Leeds are coming. Sam Liston crashes over with about 5 minutes to go, wins the game. We huff and puff at the end, but obviously running out of gas, and Leeds take the points, which was fine. Like we said, we went to Leeds not expecting such a competitive performance with the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So moral win for me. Big thanks for all you three with match reports and man of the matches. Matt Carr gave it everything. McDonald, Chairman Bob, too many penalties. Neil McDonald, John Warwick, Salford look better. Singleton, I put lost in Leeds. Stone, Sneed from KDL is kicking game. Steve Oldcott up on the up. He says entire team, many positives. OSF discipline wins games. McDonald, Colin Wilson, Simbins costly. McDonald, Mark got to be disciplined. Cust, CR enthusiastic, committed, tough. Neen McDonald, Anita impressed with debutants. McDonald, Paul Whiteside, who's keeping Britain warm tonight, deserved a point. Sam Stone and Willow's red discipline. Sneed. Neil McDonald getting a few man of the matches there. Parky, I thought was impressed with his performance. I know he's had a family emergency prior to the match, so to show, to be able to get to the game and put on a performance shows, what he's made of.
Yeah, I didn't send mine in, and I did intend to. I would have gone with McDonald. I thought it was incredible. He took some stopping, didn't he? Obviously, his old club, Leeds, their fans didn't particularly welcome him very, very nicely. I think some of the chants were slightly below the belt, but yeah, he was magnificent. But like I said earlier, I thought Sneyd and Cust were superb together. But our pack set the platform. They really did with their hard work, their defence. And it could have been, it could have really been anybody. I thought if you went man for man from both teams, I think our players came out on top in their, own personal battles. I thought Chris Hankinson did well considering he was, out of position. Timmy Lafferty again, always a threat with the ball, but McDonald he was a wrecking ball. And if he keeps that up through the season, we've got something pretty special there. And I think with him and Timmy Lafferty and Nofaluma coming in, I think it's some exciting times.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Obviously, after that performance, excited for what's to come. Talk about exciting things as well. Our wheelchair team were in action against York in their first game of 2024. Went down to defeat 26 points to 10. We spoke to coach Dave Abel on a previous pop-up. He was sort of happy with what he's seen. He knows there's improvements to make. But what another exciting sort of thing, wheelchair rugby in a Salford shirt.
Yeah, I mean the guys all had to travel over to York. So that's a journey in itself, isn't it? It's quite, it's not exactly just round the corner, but going over there and having a go on it. I think York have got a great setup rugby league wise now. They just need their first team to break that barrier, really, because the women's team are Super League champions. I think they have a really good community setup there, which is where we as a club are going. I think they're ahead of the curve slightly, York. So to go over there and go and play them at that, a great experience, I'm sure, but I think it'll set us up quite well. I think we'll learn from, how these other clubs do things and how their wheelchair team probably slightly further on, like I say, down the road than we are. So hopefully we can learn a little bit. And from what I spoke with Heather Robinson, who said, they're proud of their efforts, and it was good fun, and that's the main thing I think at the moment. Getting people involved, getting them to enjoy it. Just need a few more bodies.
So obviously 2 defeats, but 2 promising performances for Salford Red Devils last weekend. Lots of excitement to come for the club. Next up on this podcast, we're going to do Parky's predicts. Success last week. Parky must be confident about repeating this.
Yeah, like I say, it was quite tough last week, really, because I didn't know what to expect. Sometimes the opening day can throw up a few shocks. I got 4 out of the 6. The only ones that let me down were Lee, which was a little bit of a surprise. But having watched it, I mean, it was a terrible game. I'll say that. I've watched the game back. It was an awful match, really. Again, blighted by penalties and everything else, like most games were this weekend. That caught me out. And the Catalan Warrington game, I thought Warrington were going to start strong, and they did. I mean, I think if Warrington weren't playing away at Catalan, they'd have probably won that game. Again, sendings off and sim binnings and all sorts going on, but it was a close thing. But the other games I was really close with, just a few points out on most of them. I think the closest was Saints. I think I went 42-6, and it finished 40 points to 4. So you're not going to get much closer than that. It's only a couple of missed goal kicks, and I'm spot on. So hopefully this week I can hit the nail. Now we've only got 5 games this week.
Yeah.
With obviously Wigan taking on Penrith. I'm not predicting that.
No.
I'm not going near that, because what I hope for and what will happen, I don't know. So we'll start with Thursday night's game, a big one up at Craven Park, or whatever they want to call it these days. Hull KR, who were massively impressive at times against Hull. I mean, Hull were terrible, but and they take on the Rhinos. What big game early on in the season for 2 teams who have got high hopes. But I fancy Hull KR at home with that atmosphere, that crowd behind them. Following last week's performance, I wasn't impressed with Leeds. I really wasn't. I think they will get better. The players have got a mix yet. They've signed quite a few new players and so on. I just fancy Rovers. I'm going to go Hull KR 20, Leeds 14.
Okay. London Catalan Friday.
Yeah. what a horrible start London have had. You know, Saints away last week, Catalan this week. I think they've got Wigan coming up and Warrington. And, I mean, there's no easy games. Let's be honest in the Super League. There shouldn't be, but two, you know, the two big teams to start the season with. Catalan looked good in parts the other day. They've certainly got a lot of pace about them, and their forwards. Wow, I mean, they are giants. I know they've lost Mickey McLaurin for this week, haven't they? I think he's suspended with that. I think he might get a long ban for that. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. Catalan don't always travel that well, but I don't see anything down for London. I really don't. I watched them last week. They were full of endeavour and hard work, you know, but they really do lack quality. And I think a couple of injuries out of that team, and they're going to struggle. So I'm going London 6, Catalan 40.
Okay. Warrington, Hull FC. Two teams that should be competing but struggle to.
Yeah, well, I honestly think I watched Warrington and I was sort of a little bit impressed. I thought they had some good spells. Like I say, it was a tough place to go opening day, travelling over to Catalan. I know they'd had time to prepare, but they're under a new coach. They've got new players. You know, everything's got to click yet. Hull FC, on the other hand, that was nothing short of a debacle on Thursday night. Big opening day at home to your biggest rivals in front of 20,000 people, and how many were watching on the telly. Didn't show up. The discipline. I'm not sure what Pele was doing. I think it was the old Pele from World Cup fame. I don't think he played rugby league. I don't know what he was doing. They were unlucky with the other sending off. I don't think for 1 minute that's a sending off. But you know they're going to miss them players. Confidence will be low. They'll be trying to put up a show, but I don't see anything from Hull FC. I'm going to go Warrington 42, Hull 12.
Okay. Huddersfield Saints.
This is another big game, isn't it? Huddersfield, could this be the year they deliver something? It was a poor game against Lee last week. Lee didn't show anything of what we saw at the back end the middle of last season. Huddersfield are got good players, but I think they still lack something. I don't know what it is. There's still flaws in their team for me. So taking on the Saints, you know what you're getting off Saints. They're just a unit. Every team, doesn't matter what team they put out each year. It's going to be magic, isn't it? They looked okay in the first half against London. I think they eased off in the second half a little bit, tried a few things, and you know just got through the game, used it as a bit of a workout. So I'm going to go with Huddersfield 16, Saints 24.
So the final game is us, which we'll talk about shortly. But before that, we'll see what's happening in the World of Rugby League with Whiteside's World of Rugby League. So that was Whiteside's World of Rugby League, and now we'll preview the big games this weekend. So we'll start with our ladies who are in action. Their first pre-season game of 2024. They face Lee on the community pitches before the Castleford game. Parky, opportunity for the new ladies who have come in. Opportunity for Mike Grady to see what the squad can do. Very exciting times.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at basically a new team, aren't we? All the changes that had to be made. Players obviously moving on to other clubs. Some retiring, whatever. So it's a good chance for us to see where we're at, where the girls are at, how they're going to develop. First game, like any first game as a new team together, or it's just about working out your partnerships and just trying to get things to click. And Lee are a decent team. We found that last year when we played them. They obviously knocked us out in the playoffs. It's going to be a good test. And I think well worth getting down to watch. Hopefully, the weather sort of books up on that for that outside pitch. But yeah, I think it's just a good chance for us to see where we're at. The girls get a run out together because it's easy. What you do in training, it always looks easy. No one's trying to rip your head off. Although don't do that anymore. Don't tackle anyone, don't breathe at anyone, you might get a red card. But yeah, be a good test for the girls, and let's just see where we're at, and a chance for us to see the new faces.
Yeah. So, like I said, first pre-season game of 2024 for the ladies. So get yourselves down there ahead of the big game against Castleford, which we'll talk about now. Parky, obviously defeat last week against Leeds, first home game, lots planned. If you can see the club's social media, they'll have sort of news about that. Promises to be an exciting day. Castleford aren't the team they used to be. They're a team in transition. A lot of big names gone. Their squad age has dropped dramatically. They seem to be wanting to build for the future, which I can see in a way. But, with the way the IMG situation is with the stadium and where they are in that, it's going to be a difficult season for them. So they'll be looking to come to Salford to pick up a win. But hopefully we'll stop that on Sunday.
Yeah, Castle be, they'll come into this and target it like we were. I mean, Paul Rowley will tell you they don't target games, but we've got to be looking to beat Cass at home. It's otherwise it could be a long season. Like I said, I'm massively encouraged by what I saw on Friday night. I see no problem. I watched Cass against Wigan. I'm sure most did on the BBC in atrocious conditions down at the Jungle. It was, I thought at one point someone was going to have to build an ark because it was awful. And they were playing Wigan, who are a fantastic team, who I think are easily favourites to win everything. But Cass, they put up a good fight against Wigan for a long period, and then when they went out of 12 men, it was going to be virtually impossible. It's going to be tough for them. They've lost an experienced player there in Liam Watts. He's going to miss the game. I think they may have a couple of injuries as well. They are a team in transition. They have lost a lot of key players. I really think we can probably do a number. If we perform like we did on Friday night, I think we can terrorise them a little bit. We looked like we clicked more or less straight away. May just be an early season thing. I don't know, and we may not be as good as I think we are, but I think we'll have King V back. He should be back in the squad, which will add a bit of bulk. And looking down our squad, I think we're looking really, really strong. Hopefully, David Nofaluma can come in and make his debut. I don't know how fit he's going to be, whether he's ready to play first team action yet. I know he's not played for a few months. Obviously, they're off season and everything else. So, but it'd be nice if he could, or at least make an appearance, because he will be a real threat. But then if we don't have to change the team, I'm happy with that. I saw enough last week. So I think it'd be tough for Cass to come here and get anything. I think Paul Rowley will have done his own work. He'll have seen that game. There's a few things you've got to watch out for Cass, but I think overall we'll be able to handle it and come out on top.
Yeah. Prediction time. I'll go first this week because I feel like there's an Nando's coming my way after my horrific incident on Friday. I think I deserve it. So I'm going to go Salford to win. I'm going to go Salford 22, Castleford 10, Tim Lafay double.
Wow, you weren't far off, to be fair. What I was thinking, I'm going 28-12. It could be more, it could be less. We don't know. It's early season. It's all about keeping the players on the park. At the moment, I think that's going to be the key. And I thought our technique on Friday night was really good. I didn't see any swinging arms. Nobody was taking it. I know the Ryan Brearley one, but like you said, Brody's done him a little bit there, and that could happen. Not sure Cass have got a Brody Croft in their team, so hopefully we'll be okay. We won't sustain as much pressure, or shouldn't do, if we cut out, the penalties. I'm sure it's some roles has worked on during the week, keeping your discipline. Cass had a few problems with it, so yeah, I really fancy it. So what I will say, by the way, I just want to sort of defend Cass. I'm not a Cass fan, and I'm certainly not a Liam Watts fan, but how what he got was a red card is absolutely beyond me. And I think Castleford are going to suffer because of that, because he will he'll probably end up missing a few weeks. I think his reputation may have gone before him a little bit. He's definitely deserved red cards in the past that he hasn't got, so maybe just catching up. But the actual incident, if anyone's seen it and is a rugby league purist, you're baffled by that. For me, I don't even think it's a penalty. If you're giving a penalty, fair enough. Then he comes, you think, oh, they're calling him out, he'll probably get a yellow card. Then because there's a bit of contact, and then it's a red, and you bang your head against the wall, and that's what we've got to be careful of. We could get caught out of that this week. It's so difficult now. But I do feel for casting that way. It's very rare I've ever said that in my life. But I think it obviously does us a favour.
He does. Talking about someone who wants a favour, it's Paul Rowley with his pre-match chat. So that's Paul Rowley giving us his pre-match chat ahead of the Castleford game on Sunday. Big thanks for joining us on this another podcast, Parky. We've had lots of podcasts this week with the pop-up podcast with the wheelchair team, Dave Abel, the coach, Paul Rowley. We had Paul King on a pop-up a couple of days ago. Great content for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been busy, hasn't it? Like I say, I haven't got time to go to work these days. But it's more to come. Hopefully, we're lining up an ex-player, a bit of a legend in terms of Salford Rugby League Club. Hopefully, we can get him on in the next few weeks, and we'll continue from there. We said we'd do what we can. We'll work at it. And this time later in the year, we'll be picking up trophies. Not just the rugby club, but the podcast itself. So it's good. It's great to add new things in, and to liven it up. And like I say, I mean, if you've not listened to the Paul King pop-up, listen to it. The man can't speak any, more honestly about where we're at and what it cost and everything about the stadium. So that was well worth it. And so I just hope everyone's enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I want to say a big thanks to all the supporters on our Ko-fi, helping us purchase new programs, keeping the wheels turning. It means the world to us all. Big thanks. If you want to, join that and help us by buying coffees for me, Paul and Parky, follow the link on social media, and it helps us grow. So big thanks for joining us. I'm Rob Parkinson. That's been Paul Parky. And we'll see you soon for more Salford Devils chat. Don't forget you can find us on Facebook, Devil in the Detail SRD. You can find us on X at DITDSRD. And you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. Good luck, Reds. We'll see you on the other side.